Okay, so I think I'm back at least. As it looks like our stream is back up and running here. And again, sincere apologies for that. The program decided that was a good time to crash as we were kind of going from one session to the next here. So again, apologies for that as we try to bring everything back up to speed here. And as we do so, we will head to the stream of the number 53 of Colby Luca, who was second in times here as we bring our regular feed back up. However long it lasts remains to be seen. And speaking of not being seen, I think we're in the same issue that we had last time around where I'm actually unable to take control of my own car here to retire myself from the session. So hopefully I don't bump anybody out. But for now, let's go to the man who's in the championship lead right now, that being Darcy Ford. His time right now only good enough for 8th, as of course we see another.
Rain is forecast in just over 10 minutes time. Rain in 10 minutes.
Yeah, sorry about that, Am I here? Okay. Yeah, were you trying to ask me something there?
184.7 miles per hour.
Oh, yeah. Almost a complete second faster than what we originally saw there in the first qualifying session. Yeah, I was saying earlier too, Colby Luca has been like arguably the best qualifier all season so far, so no surprise to see him up there. Macaulay trying to keep the gap there as well, though I am seeing too, Darcy Ford in only 8th place right now, and I do see there's the AI thing right there beside him too.
A curious development, not 100% sure.
I think what it might be is I think I was in communications that he may have had an incident in the first qualifying session, so he's kind of waiting out. I think he's waiting to get repairs fully fixed. I might be wrong, but I think that's what I heard.
I mean, you want to talk about repairs? How about a console repair here in the form in the form of something else?
Okay, yeah,
I think you're seeing it.
Yeah, I just saw it right there too. Yeah, that's that's the thing. I was hearing that earlier, but now this seems to be the different story. So what happened? Maybe what happened earlier was, maybe it just came to an end, or maybe it didn't even happen at all. But yeah, that's quite unfortunate.
Well, we will have to see how this works out if Darcy Ford's able to rejoin. If he is, whether he's able to survive and get into the top 10, because 440 left in Q2, that is not guaranteed here necessarily. And if that were to happen, just as you see us going. Matter of fact, for some reason, it's showing this other idiot deciding to drive. He's the Riggs, I would say he's probably the equivalent of, like, remember that dude who ran across the track at Silverstone years ago? He's just a nuisance.
I remember the multiple people trying to go across the track this year.
Yes.
Which,
That
yeah,
too.
that was not very good timing considering what we saw there on the first lap as well, like on the straightaway at the start. So
Indeed. Meanwhile, God, this is just not. All right, so I think whenever, I think I did it again there. I noticed, or I heard that I was muted before. Then, of course, the program crashed. And, I think the end result was that, it just took the last setting before the crash, which, of course, meant I was muted. So, Darcy Ford certainly not muted in his performance as he moves up to 4th. And he needed to do it because, again, as you saw, he was 10th on, the final approach, the final couple corners. He was in a bit of jeopardy, but he's able to hang on as Colby Luca takes top spot in Q2 with a time of 1:31.098. As that time from earlier in the session held up. Go ahead.
The audio issues are completely swapped this week. I couldn't even really get in with that echoing problems last week, and now all of a sudden you're getting all the stuff to end off the season. Go figure, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it was bound to happen at some point. As again, we see, let's see, who's getting eliminated here. It looks like Cody Cudmore, Ivan Reynolds, Darcy Cudmore, and Mike Nickens are eliminated here, which will leave Luca, Macaulay, Dimitrov, Darcy Ford, Andy Hurdle, Dan Cudmore, Ty Higginbotham, Robert Narakaj, Jason Butler, and Mike Greathouse to battle out for the pole. And that should happen in about, a minute's time, I would say. Or less. You see the clock counting down. It's been at 000s for a couple minutes now. Let's just see if... I wonder if maybe there's kind of a real-time connection thing that I can change on this side. Which would be baffling, but if it's going to help, then, maybe it's worth exploring here. Because for the record, I did attempt to hardwire. But yeah, just real-time troubleshooting, always the most fun thing to do, of course. Not. And as you can see, Q3 is just around the bend here. 10 drivers, 12 minutes. Really, just a couple of shots here because minute and a half at absolute best for a lap around Suzuka, it seems. Like, even 1:31 is the best that we've seen so far. And it sure sounds like the weather is here, Riggs. The weather's here.
Oh, boy.
But when will it come is the question. And I think you're getting an answer here in that you're going to see a lot of drivers go out immediately here to try and potentially set a banker. Oh, a bit of a cut there, but I think that's all virtual, so to speak.
Well, yeah, try to get it out as early as you can, especially on the small tire compound. Get the fastest lap you can on the dries, and then as soon as the wet conditions come around, then it might be already completely set at the first moments. Yeah.
And even there, you can definitely see, a definite change in the atmosphere, or the sky at least. But to this point, no raindrops yet. We'll see just how long that lasts here. As again, you even see a few sun rays poking through as we're on Corbin McCauley's hot lap here. And we should bring up Colby Luca's screen here, as well as it looks like he actually may have gotten out ahead. Yeah, he's coming through the spoon, so I think Luca might be the first one on track. Not wanting to waste any time with the weather. And really, you were just talking about it, I can't say I blame him. Just in the name of, as you say, getting that banker in. And yeah, just hoping that it'll hold up if the weather does in fact change. So, looks like Luca is going to be our first hot lap here as we kind of see who's going to pick up the final pole of the season. And obviously this will have an impact on the championship as well. Just to see what kind of movement there is in terms of who's going to qualify where and what that gap is going to look like, especially between Darcy Ford and Corbin McCauley at the top of the board. Because it seems like, and feel free to disagree with me here, Riggs, it seems like Corbin McCauley is the guy who, you know, he's had Darcy Ford's number here a little bit in this particular session. And,
oh boy.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
McCauley just got an invalidated lap time there.
Okay, and so the plot thickens here a little bit. As, yeah, it looks like it happened, yeah, pretty early on in the lap actually. He's coming through the hairpin. But with 8.5 minutes left in the session, everything's just magnified that much more.
And that's definitely going to wear on the tires more, especially considering it's a soft tire compound. They'll definitely waste a lot quicker than the other ones, so that's definitely not going to be very good after what it looked to be on that first lap there for him, the first and possibly only lap depending on if the wet conditions come through. They were looking to be pretty used pretty quickly and pretty sharply, so not a good sign to start off, but again, there is hopefully some time to get things through. Again, we're not certain yet on what the rain conditions will be exactly for sure, so we'll just have to wait and see.
Indeed so. Meanwhile, watching Colby Luca's feed there, he blitzed through. He's gotten into the 130s. 130.899, the time to beat right now. As the man whose time he had beaten, Jason Butler, that was him going through the grass, I think I would say just purely to get out of the way of faster drivers. As it seems like it's just kind of one lap and done in terms of trying to get a hot lap in. And as that's going on, let's see. I think you're going to see the same thing with Corbin McCauley here. Currently listed as 10th. Of course, he wouldn't have an official time posted right now with that invalidated lap that you referenced there a moment ago. Although in saying that, it seems like he is trying to get something on the board here as he comes through the spoon. Maybe just a hair wide there.
He's been wiggling it a lot too.
Yeah, it could be that reaction time that maybe you were alluding to a little bit.
Oh, there's a raindrop there too.
It's just a stomp through 130R. And now into this
rain's
final
coming,
chicane.
I think.
Oh, there I'm seeing raindrops.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, there's another one too.
This is when the rubber's going to hit the road. McCauley moves up to third. Darcy Ford there in second. So this might be where that invalidated lap ultimately comes back to hurt McCauley. Just, again, that additional time kind of factoring in as we're down to 5:45 left in Q3. And if the rain comes, which certainly appears it has, good luck beating those times.
Well, the thing is, okay, no, never mind. I was seeing something else there. Yeah, it's just the same old times there too. And yeah, McCauley qualifying one position below Ford there. McCauley's probably going to have to rely on Ford finishing very low in the race results depending on that. So not the greatest start here for him, but again, anything's possible. We've seen how chaotic races can be, especially when rainy conditions come through. So
absolutely, and again, we'll have to see if this translates to the race itself as well. Just kind of figuring out the actual times. And yeah, let's see. Is this? I would have to imagine this is an in lap that we're watching from Macaulay right now, as we've got. So we briefly had a caution there, but it looks like probably just a driver getting out of the way, as Macaulay gets out of the way of everybody as he heads into pit lane. And potentially picking up a warning for doing so, in the name of the speeding at least.
Looks like he sped about 10 kilometers too fast there.
As we moved over to Colby Luca's stream there briefly. Again, just trying to make sure that, or trying to figure out what's going on with connections on this side, because it wouldn't let me back in to the session. Cal Shock. And yeah, hopefully we'll be back. But again, I don't know if we're going to be missing a whole lot now. Just sort of the nature of it. But there you see, the softer compounds are still an option right now, interestingly enough. So perhaps not enough water on the track to affect lap times, and we'll see. Again, with every position mattering here, we'll see exactly how this is going to go. As I think we're back here riding with the aforementioned Macaulay, who has gone out. Again, and this is the official feed. As you can see, the spectator view is back for now. And as that happens, we will of course follow those laps very closely. As we'll bring everything back up to speed here. Do our best to get our times back. And again, this is an out lap, so don't mind the red invalidated lines that you're seeing there. As again, that's just I think a byproduct of the previous lap, perhaps. As we're down to 205 remaining here in Q3, and we'll see if anyone else is headed back out. Notably, Darcy Ford still in pit lane right now. Perhaps content with the time that he's set. And now I am discontented by this development once more. Because of course it would happen. But again, thankfully we have driver streams to bail us out here. And again, one of the drivers that we are focused on, we're on board with him right now. The number 71 Red Dirt Racing driver of Corbin Macaulay, as it looks like DRS is back. Maybe it did disappear for a little bit on account of the weather, not 100% sure. And I think, has he just indicated that he's going to box this lap? I think he may have.
He just did. You were mentioning DRS was coming back on, but I think the rainy conditions are just starting to intensify just a little bit too much, especially with that soft tire compound. So it looks like Macaulay is going to unfortunately qualify below Darcy Ford to begin this race.
Yeah, I mean, 55 seconds left in the session. Nothing you can do about it now. As, again, there's not even time to get back to the pit lane, really, at this point before the lap ends. Well, that's a little bit of an exaggeration as he goes through Spoon. But it looks like it's going to be Colby Luca on pole here with 30 seconds left in the final qualifying session. Let's take a closer look at the board right now. Looks like it's going to be Colby Luca and Darcy Ford sharing the front row. Corbin Macaulay third, which again, if that does hold, and it certainly seems like it will, Darcy Ford will go into the race with a 10-point advantage in the overall driver's standings. So just that little bit more breathing room. And yeah, that'll be a big deal for him. And Macaulay will have Dan Cudmore starting alongside him in fourth. Robert Narakaj rounding out the top 5. He'll have Ty Higginbotham for company. Unless, of course, Narakaj can find a way to beat any of the times that you're seeing on the board right now. As it looks like he's the only driver with a shot to do so. But that certainly didn't look encouraging, as, yeah, he just winds his way into pit lane himself. So, that is your qualifying order set, with Luca and Ford on the front row, Macaulay and Dan Cudmore sharing row 2, Robert Narakaj, Ty Higginbotham on row 3, Jason Butler and Andy Hurdle, the 2519 drivers, that'll start 7th and 8th, Michael Greathouse 9th, and Michael Dimitrov didn't get to post a time in Q3, so he will start in 10th.
And of course, Colby Luca getting his second pole of the season, looking to end off on a high note on what has been a very up and down roller coaster for him. And he'll definitely want to look to rebound after what was a bit of an awkward start back at the Brazilian Grand Prix, as he did qualify second. And going through those first couple of corners, he had a bit of an incident with Guardian Autosports' Robert Narakaj, as the two kind of got together on the start there. Luca ended up falling back for the most part of the race, but then later on he was able to rebound and eventually get on the podium in 3rd place. So getting on the pole this time around, especially beside Darcy Ford and with Corbin McCauley right behind, two drivers that are looking to be going for the title, while Luca, on the other hand, will try to be fighting most likely for 3rd place against Daniel Cudmore, the defending champion. It's definitely going to be a very, very heated start, I can only imagine. You can use any definition to possibly describe it, especially for a track like Japan, where it's that swooping corner to the right, and it's a very, very long, it's almost like half a straightaway from the start finish line to that first corner. So it's definitely going to get very close, and McCauley and Ford will try their hardest to get as close as they can off the start and even start fighting for the title, with Luca trying to fight for what would be, according to the statistics, yeah, his second win of the season. So again, maybe he's one. Before this race, he was 1-1 with wins and poles, looking to be 2-2 possibly.
Indeed so, and of course the notable component to Luca being on pole, he's officially taken 3rd spot from Dan Cudmore in the driver's standings right now. Of course, there was only a 1-point difference between those two going in. And so, yeah, we've already seen one shift in the standings. Will we see another? Of course, you know, it has changed a little bit, so to speak, with Darcy Ford getting a bit more of a cushion now over Corbin McCauley with, again, that 10-point edge. And so that'll go into the books officially as 558 to 548 here for Ford over McCauley. And so, if McCauley, for instance, was able to win and get the fastest lap, that's 44 points right there. So, if we count down from that particular point, let's get Darcy Ford's projected finish here, or where he would have to finish in order to end the year as the driver's champion. As, again, let me just pull that back up here. I think it's, oh, nope, wrong folder. That doesn't help. Oh, also doesn't help that my color commentator can't see what I'm seeing. So now the virtual camera is back up, as it looks like Luca's winding his way through the field, or through the final couple corners. As we do that, we should probably play the Japanese national anthem as the field kind of wraps up here. 5 lights and away we go. Looks like Colby Luca's gotten a decent start off of the line here. As looks like Darcy Ford's done the same, so it looks like everyone's holding station into the first couple of corners. Notably, again, 27 laps here. Tonight it looks like the majority of the field, or at least the top 5, all starting on the mediums here, so not really a whole lot to play for in the terms of a tire advantage. But again, that little bit of a disconnect that we had on that end, that gave us enough time to pull up the math components of our Drivers' Championship here tonight. So again, 10 points the difference now between Darcy Ford and Corbin McCauley at the top. So again, if McCauley was to win and post fastest lap, 44 points. If Darcy Ford finishes 4th or better, no, he might actually still have to finish 3rd based on number of wins, as a matter of fact. So, call it a podium finish required here for Darcy Ford, because 4th would put him in a tie, and then I believe it goes to wins after that. So, a little more pressure here still for Darcy Ford still to get the job done, and there's still a window for Corbin McCauley ultimately to figure it out. But right now, Colby Luca's the man with all the answers here as he completes the opening lap of 27 here at Suzuka.
Yeah, already the top 3 and a bit of 1.2, 1.3 second gap together as Darcy Ford is really fighting behind Colby Luca if you're looking at it from McCauley's perspective.
Which we are now.
We saw there on this. We saw there on the start too. I believe someone got a little bit loose qualifying in like 4th, 5th or whatever, and they kind of were stuck in the middle back there, fell back. But yeah, McCauley got a warning to start off in the first corner, already exceeding the track limits, and he also did there too a little bit, and that's not going to work out right there as he's got a 3-second time penalty. That's not going to work out. It looks like he's driving it pretty hard so far to start off. Might want to take it a little bit easy as we still have like 25 laps remaining in this one, and Ford looking to drop back just a little bit behind Luca there. Luca's got the speed so far, and Ford has been fighting hard behind him, but they remain together in kind of a second gap behind. McCauley now falling like 2.2 seconds behind the leader, Luca. And as you were mentioning there too, yeah, there's plenty of different scenarios that could happen in terms of how we decide this championship. We're gonna have to be patient and wait until the end to figure things out. But the one thing I'll say, let's just have fun and be grateful that we're at least being able to finally, or we're able to broadcast something in some form. At least we're getting the driver perspectives and all of that, and might as well try to cap off a good ending of some kind after all the shenanigans we've gone through in this 3rd season of the Prix E-Motorsports Network Formula 1 series.
Indeed so, as we've now got a 3rd driver review up in the form of 5th place Jason Butler, who now has the benefit of DRS as he tries to catch up to Dan Cudmore here at the start of lap 3. And Cudmore, he might have to do a little bit of defending here, but it looks like he'll be okay for the majority of this lap. Now, of course, he's not close enough to have DRS on Corbin McCauley himself. Down there in 4th place, that being Dan Cudmore, of course. As you mentioned, definitely a little bit of a gap opening up between the top 3 as it stands right now. But again, none of this is helping the title challenger in the form of Corbin McCauley at this point. As again, it's still Colby Luca leading this one. We'll bring it back to his perspective. And that gap between himself and Darcy Ford up to about 1.7 seconds as it stands right now. And we'll see if McCauley's able to try and claw a little bit back. Not quite, and he's outside of the DRS range on Darcy Ford as well. But if there is anyone in the field to potentially look at to do it, as McCauley definitely went deep into that final chicane, had to do a little bit of a correction. He'll lose a little bit of time there. But of course, again, he did pick up the win here at Suzuka in Season 1, one of his 10 victories that year as well. So definitely, a guy who enjoys the track on a good night. It should be noted, again, he is battling as hard as he can through something right now. But, you know, just trying to put the pedal to the metal here, so to speak. As again, maybe, yeah, perhaps starting to feel the effects. Again, that early 3-second time penalty for exceeding track limits definitely not helping the number 71's cause so far. And speaking of a cause not being helped, it looks like Jason Butler's just been overtaken here by Ty Higginbotham, which will only help Atlantic Motorsports' cause as they look to wrap up the Constructors' Championship as Butler goes deep into the hairpin. He's going to lose 6th place to Mike Greathouse as a result. Butler dropping to 7th, and he'll have his teammate Andy Hurdle on his heels here momentarily as they work their way into the spoon curve now. And Butler just content to hold on there as we'll bring the feedback toward the head of the field where it looks like 9/10. Will Corbin McCauley be in DRS range? Yeah, he's at the line. He'll have that extra little bit of speed going down the start-finish straight, but may not be enough to catch Darcy Ford on this lap. Matter of fact, it isn't. Not a whole lot going on there, as a matter of fact, as the gap only went down by about 1/10 of a second. So Reig's DRS maybe not as powerful here at Suzuka as it is at other tracks, and given the potential difficulty of overtaking in some places, this is not looking particularly amazing.
Yeah, especially at a track like Japan too. There are some risks with overtaking as well, especially we've seen McCauley have a couple moments of already getting warnings for exceeding track limits and such, and he's going pretty hard behind Darcy Ford at the moment, trying to at least gain something on him and possibly be able to pull away. But yeah, again though, trying to overtake, especially in this scenario where it's fighting for a championship and trying to fight for every little potential detail in the scenario possible to try and get it in your advantage. Like, again, just that mixture of a lack of DRS and the amount of corners where overtaking is just so difficult, especially at this track. It's not extremely beneficial at all, especially in this kind of a situation for Corbin McCauley. But again, there's still plenty of time for things to roll through, like safety cars could happen. There's still green flag pit stops to roll through. Someone could make a mistake with a speeding penalty or even spin somehow. So again, it's just a game of patience, because well, no, he's about to get it right here.
Yeah, on track.
Something.
Sure, there's the
He's
move
got
made.
it.
But again, the 3-second
again.
time penalty, Darcy Ford still net second.
Well, yes, but now the thing is, though, now he has overtaken him, and he does look to have good pace. He can now try and get as far away as he can possibly of him. Though you can see Colby Luca is about like 2.7 seconds ahead or whatever. But if McCauley can catch up to Luca, possibly, and then be able to achieve just a little bit, couple more seconds of that, then still has a chance here. Again, another track limit warning right there. That's, again, if he starts getting more of those, that's not going to help him whatsoever. And there's a car out of this race. So
That's
it looks like
Mike Nickens who's out, and full safety car deployed.
I was saying there, yellow flag safety cars could happen. We just got one right there.
Indeed we did on lap 6. So I don't know if it's quite early enough to potentially influence early pit stops. Certainly the allure of the time isn't a bad thing, but obviously still early on those tires as well. Because I would figure the mediums probably go about, I'd have to say probably 15 if I had to guess. I missed the little strategy bubble that popped up there in the beginning. Luca is coming into pit lane though. So that's an interesting development from his side. What will Corbin McCauley do in response? He also comes in, but picks up a 5-second penalty for speeding. So what's been not the start he's wanted has only been compounded by
that luck is
another 5-second penalty.
that luck has pretty much been all that bad luck has been all over him over the course of this season. You would think like the past 3 Grand Prix, he's scored a win almost every single one of them, which has been an absolute resurgence after what was basically an incredibly unlucky first half for him. Trying to look here at the race day statistics. Yeah, like he's gotten good finishes, like again from the start to now, eighth, third, fifth, second, sixth, 13th. Like it's just been up and down. He does get good finishes, but the problem always was he was always kind of just getting screwed over by unfortunate penalties, whether it was speeding on pit road or exceeding track limits or just getting involved in sometimes getting involved in incidents with other drivers. So it's just been an absolute roller coaster. Again, though, there's still time. It ain't over till it's over. That's the statement that always has to be said no matter what, because you never know if something may happen to Darcy Ford in any point right there. And hopefully that's not a jinx that I just said right there. So, again, there's still time. Just relax.
Indeed. We'll see how this all shakes out. We're only on lap 7 of 27, as you mentioned before. And yeah, still lots of time. Of course, we're probably looking at another lap under the safety car as well. So realistically, probably restart racing around lap 9. And yeah, still lots to be decided here. Although, again, things are looking pretty good for the number 64 of Darcy Ford right now as it stands. But again, if it was to end this way, it would be a 13-point gap once you apply the penalties to Macaulay. And yeah, no indication of the safety car coming in this time around, as you can see. So, looking at the top 5 here right now, it is Colby Luca continuing to lead. Macaulay second on track, but obviously with the 8 seconds of penalties not helping his cause. Darcy Ford there in third, again the guy who's looking at a potential championship right now. Michael Dimitrov there in fourth after not setting a time in Q3. He's been able to work his way up the field. Ty Higginbotham rounds out the top 5. And let's just see if I can get more from... Oh, matter of fact, I can get 6 through 10 from Jason Butler's stream. Butler himself is 8th. He's got Andy Hurdle ahead in 6th. Michael Greathouse in 7th. As mentioned, Butler in 8th. Dan Cudmore 9th, Robert Narakaj rounds out the top 10. And again, we've already had the retirement of Mike Nickens from this particular race. And so, yeah, that's effectively a reset of where we are right now with, I think, Cody Cudmore, Darcy Cudmore, and Ivan Reynolds, the other cars on the track. And again, just trying to see if I can find some more info here in real time on what's going on with what would be our normal connection, as we see we're on lap 8 of 27 here. I would imagine we're probably looking at the safety car coming in this time around, maybe? If not now, then certainly one more lap. And again, still no indicator of it. You'd think it would have come up by now, but of course, you know, stranger things have happened. There it is. Just spoke about 5 seconds too early. As, yeah, the safety car is coming in this lap. And so, Colby Luca will have control of the field. And now if you're Corbin McCauley, you just kind of have to go and get it. And just blow the field away like it's been the last 3 weeks. And Luca with the short run up to the start-finish line. We're back to green flag racing here now. And we'll bring it back to Macaulay's feed as he tries to get onto the back of Colby Luca sooner rather than later. And it looks like, yeah, I'd have to say the majority of the fields opted for the hards. So I think we're going to see some long runs here now, Riggs, especially, you know, a couple of extra laps where you're not putting as much stress on the tires. Seems like everyone is trying to go through to the end here at this point.
Thing is, too, we've kind of seen a pattern in races prior to this one this season where if we've had a safety car early on, then the pattern usually continues on later in the race. We usually kind of get it as a bit of a repeated pattern sometimes, so some drivers might try to also consider the possibility of later on having to go on the mediums or the smalls, depending on when the pattern could end up continuing if it does. But again, too, just I keep staring at that 8S right there, the penalty. I mean, Macaulay has unfortunately gotten over the past 9 or 8 laps, 9 laps, whatever it is here. So, thing is, if it ends up going away later on, and like if it somehow goes away in some form later on, then and maybe that might be good for him. But it's hard to call right now because there's still plenty of time for things to roll through. But the best Macaulay can try to do is at least gain some momentum and get back up to Luca there to quote-unquote lead laps if possible. But again, Darcy Ford's getting a run on him right behind. You're trying to take it up on the outside here before the first turn, possibly get past him.
And this is without DRS, mind you, because it does take 3 laps after a restart. So Ford clearly with a bit more speed, especially down that start-finish straight. And again, once that rear wing opens next time around, if Ford's close enough, Macaulay could have his hands full again. As again, we've moved on to lap 10 of 27 in this one. And again, it is our season finale here at the Japanese Grand Prix, season 3 of our Formula 1 series. And, you know, it's been, you know, a rather entertaining season. It has to be said. The fact that we came in here with a championship battle is certainly enough cause for excitement here, as we'll move on to Michael Dimitrov's camera here for the first time. He's currently running in 4th place, which again would be a net 3rd right now on account of the time penalties to Macaulay. And if I go to Jason Butler's stream, I want to see if I can figure out just how far Macaulay would fall. So it's 1.5, so it's about 3 seconds between Macaulay and Higginbotham, 4.6 to Andy Hurdle, as Colby Luca puts up the fastest lap of the race. So it looks like he would drop down to about 8th place right now with all things applied, as DRS is now able to be applied once again. But it looks like Darcy Ford wasn't quite close enough to do anything about it that time around, as we'll actually get a good view of that battle here from Michael Dimitrov's perspective. And Dimitrov himself would have DRS on Darcy Ford this time around too, if again he's able to maintain that kind of a gap into, again, just the 1 DRS zone here at Suzuka, which you would think a track almost 6 kilometers in length would have more than that, but not necessarily the case, as Dimitrov gets onto the back of Ford there going through the hairpin. And now again, it's another slight crest here into the spoon curve, with again just 4/10 separating Ford and Dimitrov here. That'd be for 3rd place on track. And Dimitrov might actually be able to have a go here as they go through 130R into the chicane. Does Dimitrov go for the lunge now or wait for DRS? I think he pulls the wise move here and waits for the DRS zone, but he's got to get that hammer down. And so, there he goes. But again, not quite close enough to Darcy Ford. Oh, did they just make contact? Though it looked like there was a little bit of a weird interaction between those two. Ford maintains the place. And I didn't see a damage indicator pop up on Dimitrov's screen here, so I think he's probably all right. Meanwhile, a guy who's more than all right here tonight is our race leader, Colby Luca, on lap 12. He's got a little over a second on track between himself and Corbin McCauley in second. Of course, we've kind of spoken ad nauseum already about the penalties that McCauley is looking at here. So ultimately, it's 3.7 seconds between Luca and second place on track, or overall anyway, Darcy Ford. And again, if this result was to hold, Darcy Ford would, of course, emerge as the driver's champion, so to speak. But again, we'll go back to Michael Dimitrov here. We'll see if he's able to get any closer to Darcy Ford and get a little bit of a better exit out of this final chicane. And it looks like he's taking a much better line this time around. And so we'll see again what kind of effect that DRS is going to have as Ford moves over to kind of block off the inside, forcing Dimitrov to move to the outside if he was to get close, but nothing doing there. As again, technically we're told that a pit window was opened up, but nothing really to worry about. Everybody's kind of made their pit stops already. As again, I'm just trying desperately here to figure something out. I wonder if during the pit stop... No, for some reason, the game is deciding it does not want to let me retire my own vehicle, which is weird. And it's weird that we're in this situation here to begin with. As we will try and get some actual spectator action here, but I'm not sure if that's actually going to play out for us.
Maybe me suggesting you stay on track and cause a prank was actually meant to happen, huh?
Well, I mean, I'd rather not think of it like that, because this is, it's not quite how I drew this one up, because obviously I'm not supposed to be on track right now, and as you can see, if we move over to our spectator view, you can clearly see that even though I'm very much well out of the picture, it's absolutely not the kind of situation that I want to have happen here. Good old EA deciding to mess things up here. What a surprise. As we're with Corbin McCauley right now, but we'll go to Darcy Ford as he tries to try and get to the back here. Anyway, but still a bit of a ways here to go. As he finds himself a few seconds back of McCauley there in on track second, and again trying to hold off the pressure of Michael Dimitrov, which we have to admit he's actually done pretty well here so far, holding up very capably given the circumstances. And as Ford makes his way through 130R into that final chicane again, I promise you the drivers are not having to work that hard as you can see. As we will go back to Michael Dimitrov here, trying to do anything to claw back the advantage. With DRS only providing minimal help, as you can see. And again, that gap was right around that kind of 1 second mark. But now it's very much fluctuating. Again, I wonder if maybe we're having some issues with timing boards. I certainly don't think Dimitrov's gone off on his own accord there. So I think we're just going to go ahead and call our particular stream unreliable. So let's go ahead and go back to his actual driver stream, where Dimitrov very much still in 4th place, right around a second back, 1.1 back as a matter of fact, of Darcy Ford for 3rd. And again, just looking to potentially, find himself on the podium in the final race of the season, which again, he would anyway in the name of those penalties that you're seeing a little bit further up the board. But always nicer to earn it on track, as well as Dimitrov's found his way right back to the back of Darcy Ford here. So it seems like toward the end of that section, as they passed some ghosted idiot there, I don't know who that would be, wink wink nudge nudge. But yeah, now we're seeing a very real battle here, as we've seen Robert Narakaj pick up fastest lap honors here as well.
There's the pit window.
Yeah, again, the rather meaningless pit window since everyone's gone in. And Darcy Ford, as you see, with a great job of blocking off any kind of lane there for Michael Dimitrov and doing it cleanly.
We can call that the safety car period if that ends up happening here. But yeah, we've been watching Michael Dimitrov and Darcy Ford battling hard here, trying to see who could end up on the podium to end off the season here. That's the thing too. It might be putting on a little bit of stress for Ford, because Ford will want to definitely stay clear of any potential contact or whatever, battling or whatever, because anything close, anything that could happen with other cars, that could seriously cause a catastrophe for him, because right now it's looking like he's pretty much hanging on for the title, although again, there's still plenty of laps to wind down here. Macaulay has been trying to keep about a second or so gap here behind Luca despite the time penalty. So I guess besides the time penalty, just trying to see if he can make his way up past another car, maybe finish in front of everyone, but not statistically speaking. So yeah, it looks like Ford's pulling about a second ahead now, Dimitrov. So it's just been the gap's been kind of going back and forth for the past couple of laps. It's looking like he'll probably just remain stable unless something big happens here within the final couple of laps to conclude the season.
Indeed so, as we've just concluded lap 16 of 27 here in this one. So 11 to go in this race, as we're going to see, are we going to see Dimitrov maybe pit again? We're seeing maybe another strategy call here. He's evaluating his options, certainly, as he's on the back of Darcy Ford, trying to get by him on the outside. The S's, almost contact there in that other window. I'd seen it. I wish I'd flipped it over for everyone else to see it. But yeah, it got a little hairy there in the S's, as again, Dimitrov was having that kind of outside look on Darcy Ford. But again, ultimately, both cars, they remain in one piece. They remain in the correct direction. But Michael Dimitrov not wanting to give this up without a fight. But again, as you can see, there's definitely, the thought of a pit stop coming here for the number 19. Which again, I'm not sure how I would feel about that call if I were him, if he was to wind up going through with it, but I guess we'll find out in a few seconds as they come through 130R. Down in toward the final chicane. The gap's only 3.5 tenths between them. So Dimitrov, he could have had a shot here, and he is going to stay out. So might have been just a bit of a false alarm there for Dimitrov, as Ford will immediately take to that outside line, or even close to the racing line, as you can see. As again, not really much of a threat from Dimitrov that time around, as they remain 3rd and 4th on track. And we'll go back to Corbin McCauley's stream here briefly, as that's an interesting development. He's pulled almost 7.5 seconds on Darcy Ford here, which Would obviously be a position change, but not enough to get the job done if it was to cross that 8-second threshold. McCauley certainly seems to be finding his speed now. But again, the penalties, they could still wind up being his undoing here. As he makes his way out of the spoon curve onto, again, kind of the secondary straight here at Suzuka into the 130R right about now. And now into that final chicane, about 1.5 seconds separating himself and Colby Luca, who really has been controlling this race from jump. And doesn't feel like he's gonna have any issues here, but speaking of issues, it looks like we may have another retirement here in the form of Robert Narakaj. I haven't seen any indication of it other than, you know, a message that we just happened to see pop up in our Facebook chat. But again, we'll have to monitor that situation as well. As notably, that gap has crossed to 8.5 seconds now, so McCauley officially is second place on track, which would get him at 3 points closer to Darcy Ford, but it would still be a 7-point edge right now if things were to end right this second. And as you can see, McCauley trying desperately to get onto the back of Colby Luca here. That gap down to 1.1 seconds now. But again, the challenge here, Reegs, obviously with, you know, it'll be 8 laps to go at the line. If he does find a way past Colby Luca, it'd be a matter of pulling out another 8 seconds on him to guarantee himself the victory in another 3 points. So
I mean, the way it's running right now, Luca has been pretty much, like you've been saying, Luca's been controlling this race the whole time, and the gap just remains about 1 second or so. But I mean, I guess the only thing that really matters right now that we're noticing is that McCauley is definitely pulling a deficit over Darcy Ford to try and at least take second place to finish off the season. But again, that would just point out the obvious fact that Darcy Ford is looking like the Season 3 champion at the moment, which again, with how the past 3 Grand Prix have run for McCauley, with that, just again, an incredible run. Unfortunately, it's not going to end up working out for him. But again, though, still a strong end to the season regardless. But I mean, there could be in another lap or two if something happens, and you never know.
indeed, I mean, there's a reason why they conduct the races, of course, because anything can happen. As you see McCauley closing up on the back of Luca here. That gap briefly down to 0.7 seconds while braking in that hairpin. And now into the spoon. Let's see, again, if any headway can be made. Here again, that gap staying right around that kind of 1 second mark. Right now, though, it is down a little bit lower. Might be finding just a little bit more speed. If you can get within DRS range, again, it's not quite as powerful at Suzuka as it is at other places, but I mean, it's not like it's completely negligible either. And yeah, it's still 1.2 at both the DRS detection point and the start finish straight, as we're now on lap 21 of 27. 7 laps to go in this Formula One Series Season 3 season. As we'll go a little bit further down the field to find Jason Butler down in 8th place, trying to see if he's got anything going on. And it looks like he's just coming up to finish lap 20. He's a little ways behind Ty Higginbotham, and he's got a few seconds on Darcy Cudmore there in 9th. So again, kind of a quiet race there for the 519 E-Racing driver and day one participant within the Canadian E-Motorsports network, as we'll bring it back to Michael Dimitrov here as he finds himself now 2.3 seconds back, or 2.1, excuse me, back of Darcy Ford. That'd be 3-4 on track, and again, that is how the positions would hold now that Macaulay has opened up enough of a gap to negate the 8 seconds of penalties. As they come out of the spoon, it seems like things have kind of settled down a little bit, which again, it would be the opposite of what this driver would want to hear, that being, of course, Corbin Macaulay. You'd think he'd like a little bit of extra incentive, and he just got it in the form of setting the fastest lap of the race. So another point to claw back there, so that makes the gap 6 in kind of live scoring terms. So again, if something was to happen to Luca in the last couple laps, yeah, this isn't quite over yet, as you've mentioned a couple of times there, Regan.
I mean, yeah, again, it's gradually going 1 point at a time, basically. Although, again, at this point, it's only like 5-6 laps left at this point. So, by the looks of it, it doesn't look like much is going to happen at this point. There's not really a whole lot to say. But again, the same point comes around. You never know until it's over. I feel like I'm going to keep repeating that point.
Yeah, I mean, again, you still have to keep it on the track. As, again, our race leader from start to finish has done an expert job of doing tonight. That being the number 53 of Colby Luca. As he'll come to the line. It'll be 5 to go as he gets there. Still has to negotiate this final chicane first. But again, it's kind of felt like his race to lose to this point. As there he goes ahead and does complete another lap. And again, that gap still hanging around that 1.2 second threshold. As Luca's going to wind his way around the back marker. And now through the S's here on lap 23 of 27. And again, it just seems like Colby Luca seems to have an answer for everything, including getting by that ghosted moron. And thankfully Corbin Macaulay does the same. And notably, it seems like that gap has dropped under a second here now in this middle portion of the lap. So, Reeds, it seems like this is where Corbin Macaulay makes up his most speed over the course of the lap until Colby Luca seems to pull it back a little bit in Sector 3.
I am curious to question, if Macaulay didn't have any of the time penalties, what would that look like on points? I assume it wouldn't do anything, but I'm just genuinely curious.
Right now, it wouldn't do anything because, again, the 8-second threshold, the positions you're seeing are the positions officially.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking there. It might be like a 3, 4, 5 point gap, but really it wouldn't do much. Again, like time penalty or not, it looks like it's not gonna happen here. It's quite impressive to see how Colby Luca's done over the weekend. Unfortunately, we thought Macaulay was gonna have possibility at the pole there after looking fast in Q1 and Q2, but again, though, invalidated time lap plus the weather and the time penalties. It's pretty much kind of, again, the conclusion of the season where we're getting basically a visual description of what's gone on with him over the season. Again, it's just been the roller coaster term from penalties to the weather screwing him over to some incidents. It's just been, it's kind of, I guess in a way, it's kind of like what Lewis Hamilton's gone through after losing to Max Verstappen back in 2021. It's basically been kind of like that. Also kind of like a Charles Leclerc in a way, except it's not really that Verstappen versus Leclerc difference in dominance and stuff, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly. As I just saw Michael Dimitrov lap, again, that other moron that we've been talking about throughout the evening. And again, for those who might be unfamiliar with the term, I am, of course, referring to my own ghosted car because for whatever reason, I can't seem to exit, but Corbin McCauley, he's looking to enter top spot on the track. Look at that gap just melt away. It's down to 0.6 now, well within DRS range as we begin lap 25. And again, Colby Luca, this would really be the first time on track anyway his position has been under any kind of peril. Of course, you know, the time penalties would work against McCauley if he does happen to overtake him regardless. So, again, seems like it's Colby Luca's race to lose here right now. But, you know, he'd love to be first to get to the line, as well as I think McCauley may have had a little bit of an issue there out of that final S, or at least that little left-hander. And, yeah, trying to make up that gap again in the hairpin. Perhaps knowing that it's slipping away, definitely pushing harder these last couple of laps. And again, he's done a good job of pulling that gap down to below a second. But again, you wonder how much is too much, potentially. But, yeah, we'll have to kind of see how it concludes over the next couple minutes. As we'll, well, put it back to McCauley's stream. I moved that one over by accident because, yeah, I was trying to bring the overlays back, not knowing they were already there. But, yeah, 2 laps to go here now. Colby Luca continues to lead this one. And on track, it's effectively a 2-horse race. But again, throw those penalties in. It's been a one-man show, again, from the second the green flag dropped, really. And, you know, Luca was the guy setting the pace in Q2 and Q3. Certainly the only guy to dip into the 130s in Q3, so definitely on merit here as Colby Luca looks to put the finishing touches on what would be his second victory of the season. And there you see it's basically just clear track ahead here for the number 53. McCauley not particularly close that time around, headed into the hairpin. And yeah, it's just kind of a matter of keeping it on the track here for Colby Luca, and it looks like that checkered flag will be headed his way soon enough.
Okay, there's been an incident on track resulting in loose debris.
Yes, let's just see if, for one lap anyway, it'll let me bring back spectator just for the ending, basically. Because really that's all I'm looking for at this point. As we have officially begun the final lap of our Series 3 season, as Colby Luca continues to lead, and Corbin McCauley basically with his best chance here, seeing that kind of slip away now, as we will bring it back to the head of the field. And again, we'll see it from Colby Luca's perspective as we get close to wrapping this one up. Yeah, and there you see a little bit better representation of the gap between Luca and McCauley. And again, I would not say that is Luca going wide on his own accord. I would say that's a connection thing, final time through the hairpin. And you know, credit to the number 71. He's doing his best to try and get onto the back of Colby Luca here. Maybe trying to force a mistake. But even if he could do that, I think he'd still need something to go on behind him as well. As they come out of the spoon curve for the final time. And of course, that would happen. Could not get even one lap out of that. As Colby Luca makes his way through the 130R for the final time. And he's got, again, McCauley fairly close, but not close enough. As we're going to get the run up to the line. it's going to be Colby Luca who takes a well-deserved victory in the Japanese Grand Prix. And again, it's a big win for Colby Luca. His second of the year consolidates third place for him. And Macaulay crosses, Darcy Ford crosses. And as Darcy Ford crosses, there's your confirmation. Darcy Ford is officially the Drivers' Champion for Season 3, and well earned.
Very much for sure here. Colby Luca absolutely dominating this finale of the season 3 here for the Canadian E-Motorsports Network Formula 1 Series. Corbin Macaulay was able to put on a very, very solid gap in the final 10 laps or so to be able to hold on to second place despite the early time penalties that were given to him in this race. And it's unfortunate with how unlucky he's been throughout the whole season to not be able to have a legitimate fight for the title here. But at the same time, though, he was able to persevere with a very good final 4 races, of course, as he did win 3 Grand Prix in a row and was able to still finish runner-up here tonight. So a very respectable performance by him, of course. But again, all the eyes are to Darcy Ford, who is officially a Formula 1 Series champion here with the 3rd place finish on the podium in Japan.
Yeah, so the podium that you see there is going to be the inverse of how they finished in the drivers' standings, with Colby Luca finishing 3rd overall, Corbin Macaulay 2nd, and Darcy Ford with the 3rd place finish tonight. He tops the charts. He is the overall drivers' champion, and as mentioned, very, very well deserved in his case, as that gives him actually a 3rd Canadian E-Motorsports Network trophy to his name. And the official gap is, I believe, it's 6 points ultimately, the final separation between Corbin Macaulay and Darcy Ford, with Macaulay also picking up fastest lap here tonight. But again, it's all for naught here now, as it is officially the number 64 of Darcy Ford who picks up the Villeneuve Trophy and is, again, the official Canadian E-Motorsports Network Formula 1 Series champion for season number 3. And Riggs, again, we talked about it a little bit. Not necessarily definitely not the most victories of anyone in the field, but, you know, kind of a model of consistency as much as anything else here for the number 64 Atlantic Motorsports driver.
Indeed so, and I mean, based on looking at the race day graphic, which gives me perfect results here of how his season has gone. Again, he started off 10th and 7th in the first 2 races, but then he went on an absolute tear for the last 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, the last 8 races of this 2022 season 3, obviously. He finished on the podium in every single one of the final 8 races. Second, first, third, second. Just an incredibly consistent run. He used consistency to his advantage, with some other drivers kind of falling to some inconsistent luck, including like Macaulay, Daniel Cudmore, Colby Luca, even Mason Pope in there as well. So he took advantage of that. It wasn't, this season wasn't always about wins and such, looking at the statistics, because yes, there were only 5 drivers that were able to combine for wins altogether over the season, but there wasn't really anyone that was absolutely like booming with wins. Like, out of all the 11 races we got, the most wins we got out of a driver is only 3 from Macaulay, which is pretty surprising as well, because you would think in real life with Formula 1, there's always like some driver that's going to win like 80%, 90% of the season basically. But no, this time around, we got multiple drivers fighting for the championship, and it definitely gave us a very intense battle all the way through, and it was a very, very diverse season as well here too. So yeah, just full of the headlines. Ford's consistency, Macaulay's roller coaster of a year, Daniel Cudmore putting up a stellar year as a defending champion, unfortunately not able to get the job done. Colby Luca kind of going through the same stuff as Macaulay there as well, and even Mason Pope having a good early run, but then kind of just not really much other than that besides some good qualifying like poles and stuff, some podiums there too, and some drivers too, even not just the winners going back and forth with some decent battles, trying to fight for podiums and stuff, still getting good like top 10 finishes with guys like Jason Butler, Michael Dimitrov. Ty Higginbottom was a driver that definitely got very good in the second half of the season, getting on the podium a couple times, couple like top 5 finishes, and he's the reason why Atlantic Motorsports was able to get up there and fight for the Constructors Championship. And you're pointing at the screen right there. Yes, that is definitely what helped the team, because early in the season we saw Alpha Flow be the top team with Cudmore and Dimitrov both being very consistent. But then it was around, I believe, let me recall the results here just to make sure. Yes, it was the Austrian. There was the Austrian Grand Prix there where
That was the
Ty
double.
Higginbottom. Yeah, Ty Higginbottom got second place right behind Darcy Ford, who took the victory right there, and he even finished second in Hungary. And yeah, just a couple of good finishes to cap off a really good second half after kind of struggling through most of the first half. So a very good job by Higginbottom to help Darcy Ford be able to get a championship, plus be able to get a Constructors Championship. So overall, just very good run from Higginbottom and obviously Ford as well, but from Atlantic Motorsports as a whole, fantastic job by them this season.
I mean, the proof is in the pudding there ultimately at the end of the day, with Atlantic Motorsports smashing that kind of 1,000-point barrier whenever you look at it from that perspective. They came in with, I believe, 906 tonight, so certainly they would have crossed that threshold with no problem. And just waiting to see if we're actually going to get our newly crowned series champion Darcy Ford in to chat with us here for a few minutes. But obviously before that happens, Riggs, obviously, we're coming up toward the end of a season and coming up toward the end of 2022 as well. Obviously a lot to look forward to still within the Canadian E-Motorsports Network sphere, so to speak. And namely, one of those things would be the upcoming Formula One All-Star Series, which has been brought back for another season. And again, it's a little bit different in that, it'll still operate with the within the confines of F1 2022. But for us, notably, this will not be a streamed operation. So, Riggs, you and I get a little bit of a break here.
Well, yes, I would definitely say it was well-deserved after many of the difficulties we've run throughout the year. Like, again, for me joining along from race 2 onward, whenever the season 3 of the NASCAR series occurred on NASCAR Heat 5, we were able to get through that very successfully, and then on to the Formula One season, where we kind of had some technical difficulties having you move over to Alberta, me being over here as well, trying to figure out our communications and all that. But overall, we were able to persevere with broadcasts as much as we possibly could. The efforts that we made definitely are getting praised by the drivers and the competition committee, everyone involved in the network, even the fans too as well. So obviously I'm very grateful to have gotten into such an experience right here. It's given me a lot of perspective and and all of that, and it finally gave me a chance to feel as if I was actually a part of something. Like, if I'm not able to be on the track, then at least I'm involved in some form, being in the commentary booth. And it's very, very grateful that I was able to get to do it along with someone like you, who's been very experienced in this, has been teaching a lot with me as well. And I got to meet a lot of great drivers and stuff in this series too, over the NASCAR season, the Formula One season. So overall, just a very, very fun year for sure. Lots of experience, growth, learning skills, and all of that. Just having fun too overall, and being able to broadcast races and such. So this is definitely going to be. There's definitely a lot of memories to cherish as the year comes to an end. So again, all I gotta say is thank you to everyone that's been involved with this, especially you, Jordy, for being able to persevere through all this, especially with all of the absolutely incredible difficulties that we've suffered through, especially under EA Sports. I mean, go figure. So, but again, though, we made it. That's all that matters.
We did indeed. And again, we may be on the precipice of getting joined by our newly minted Formula One Series champion here, Darcy Ford. We'll just have to see if he's going to hop on here. Not 100% guaranteed just yet, but certainly, it would be a very interesting post-mortem here with him after what's really been, again, an interesting 11 race schedule here. Of course, we had our first ever double feature there about a month ago with Austria and Hungary, like you mentioned, and it felt like that was almost kind of where both championships sort of saw their tides get turned, if you want to put it that way. And then, of course, we saw the resurgence of Corbin McCauley to bring us back to a situation where, it was game on for the Drivers' Championship right up until the very end here at Suzuka. Again, ultimately it didn't quite work out, or the battle itself didn't quite pan out, even though, again, the gap did close down to 6 points by the time everything was said and done. But obviously, it's a matter of consistency here for our newly minted champion. Again, now a champion in 3 separate series, with him taking the Season 2 NASCAR championship, of course, and then the last, obviously the All-Star Series as well. And yeah, we're just kind of working things out technically here, just to see if we can get our new champion on the line here. And actually, yeah, just give me a second here. I just thought of a way to make this happen. So, stand by. We are, again, working this all out in real time. And again, I think we're looking forward to this particular conversation. Again, just the way that everything really evolved over the course of, again, the last month especially. It seemed like nothing was, set in stone there. Again, right up until the end, it seemed like, at one point, Darcy Ford might just cruise with consistency. But again, ultimately, he had to fight for it when, the time came, and yeah, he was able to get the job done. And yeah, just, as I say, I'm really not trying to stall here, really just trying to make this all function. Okay, so I think I might have a workaround. Okay. All right, so that is set. Again, you're seeing this all happen relatively quickly here, just to see. Okay, so we should have him on the line here relatively shortly, I hope. Yeah, he'll be able to see us. We will not be able to see him. It's just a connection thing. God knows, Riggs, we've gone through enough of that over the course of the last few months, so we totally understand it. Okay, just kind of walking him through our control room setup here as well. All right, so again, just kind of doing a bit of a walkthrough. And yeah, hopefully we'll have everything just about ready to go. And, for our other, my esteemed color commentator, this might be a good idea to throw his own camera back on because we will show up on the screen even though he will not. And yeah, we'll hopefully have this ready to roll, sooner rather than later here. And yeah, just seeing him pop in now, I think. And let's just see.
Hello?
Yeah, Darcy, can you hear me?
I got you, buddy.
All right, let's get you into the stream here. So again, he's not officially in on the official broadcast just yet, but that'll change in about 15 seconds here, as again we will be able to chat with our newly minted champion, the number 64 of Darcy Ford, driving for Atlantic Motorsports, as I think we have him on the line here now. I'm not sure where.
Jordy, I think I lost you.
Yeah, I think I lost me too. And yeah, as you can see.
Hello?
Yep, I can hear you.
I'm here.
Yeah, Regan's here. Can you hear Regan?
I can hear you.
Oh, perfect. Excellent. Here we go.
All right, so we'll let those two kind of start it off.
There.
Oh,
Yeah, we'll let those two start it off. Not 100% sure what's going on
I
my
have no
side.
idea.
I'll just produce it to start.
oh man.
Yeah, have you gotten a chance to breathe, first of all? Okay, so yeah, not 100% sure what's going on with our cameras here right about now. Because yeah, we should all be live. Not 100% sure. Like, this is what we've been doing all season to try and make this work. Obviously, not the not always the best solution, we'll put it that way, but it's something that's kind of allowed us to at least try and proceed whenever we've been doing everything remotely. Okay. Yeah, no, that is very strange. Just gonna try and make one move here and we'll see if that'll make a difference. Nope, not yet. And again, everyone's able to hear me, of course, in real time. Oh, I think I may have added him to the wrong scene, actually. Oh, no. Where in the world is he? This is very, very strange here. Okay. Again, just trying to make this work. It's not always the easiest job. Yeah, I don't know why he is... Oh, okay. Now I know why I'm not getting anything. Okay, let's try that now. Okay, yeah, I can see that he wants to be... Or his levels are showing up for me. Darcy, are you there? Except he can't hear me right now. This is very, very strange here, folks. I might have to bail on this. Not 100% sure.
Regan, you just want me to wait here?
I mean, you two can continue to talk, certainly.
All I can say is just sit tight.
Okay,
I
sounds
don't,
good.
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I'm
All
just
good.
seeing your other message here right now, Riggs. So let me just... Okay. Yeah, because I mean, I can still see myself and everything looks fine from my side. Let me just refresh myself. Okay. Okay, so there, I just popped back in. Yeah, Darcy, it looks like you're showing up as muted right
Can
now.
you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can, yep.
Perfect. There we go.
Yeah, so I guess I'm probably good. There's my camera back. So we're getting somewhere. Yeah, Regan, are you there? Yes, he's on camera. So we're getting closer here, folks. And yeah, I think we've got levels here for Darcy Ford as well. So I think now that he can hear both of us, now we can finally say congratulations, Mr. Ford, on this particular Formula One Series victory. And with it, your third championship overall in the Canadian E-Motorsports Network.
Thank you. It's it was quite the season. It's hard to find the words to describe the season altogether. It's just been up and down, a roller coaster of sorts, but it feels good here at the end.
Yeah, and obviously nothing was, overly certain there until tonight, really. Obviously, that gap, you saw it shrink over the course of the last 3 weeks as, Corbin McCauley just continued to close it down and close it down. So going into tonight, what was sort of the overall mentality going in? Was it just a matter of trying to stay consistent as much as anything else?
Yeah, when you go up against Corbin, you know you're going to have your hands full. He is, uh, widely known as a legend in this network. Uh, his raw skill and his raw speed uh, is unmatched, in my opinion, in the whole network. So, at the start of the season, I was able to get some consistency underneath me, which I kind of just rode that train all through the season. And the other thing with Corbin is when he gets on a hot streak, he's on fire. There's no stopping him at all. So I just had to mend the bleeding as far as I could, as far as points and positioning and qualifying. And I was laughing tonight because I qualified him, and I don't think I've ever done that before. So it was fun to do that. Um, but yeah, going into tonight, nerves were a wreck. I knew he was going to bring everything to the table. I know he was. I know he ran tonight with the flu in mind. So, um, still, what he was able to accomplish was just quite amazing. So, um, but yeah, he made me sweat it out for sure.
Yeah, and obviously, that's not to downplay your own performance, of course, over the season as well. Not just your own though, but also the Atlantic Motorsports performance as well, of course, picking up the constructors championship as well. So obviously, you came in with Ty Higginbotham as a teammate, a guy who had limited to no Formula One experience kind of on the sim racing side of things, mostly NASCAR, of course, is our defending champion there. So what was your take on sort of his overall progression through the course of the year as well to help you guys secure the team championship?
Yeah, honestly, that was probably one of the most exciting parts of this season. To watch Ty make the jump over from NASCAR to Formula One, and watch him get behind the wheel and just learn how these cars run, learn how these cars handle. Because it's a drastic leap going from NASCAR to Formula One. It's a completely different animal altogether. So his ability to jump in a car like that for the first time and be as strong in it is a testament to his skill, his talent. Um, he finished ahead of me, I think, at least once. So and just outran me. So he's a quick learner. Uh, he's definitely, going forward, he's a threat. And he's just a good driver. He's just solid. He knows when to pick up the time to get speed. It was just fun to watch him progress and get better and better. And he hasn't peaked yet, so he's only going to get faster, which is going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, very fair comments all the way around there. Reeves, feel free to jump in here anytime, especially since I may or may not need to grab a little sip of water here.
Oh yes. Yeah, you stole my idea on trying to talk about Ty Higginbottom and the team getting the constructors championship there, obviously. But I'll continue on that in some form here, Darcy. You heading into the season, obviously, you were able to get paired up with Ty Higginbottom, who was coming off a season 3 NASCAR championship, obviously, and we were able to see here as the second half rolled on, especially Higginbottom was able to find his run with many good finishes, and you guys were eventually able to get to the constructors championship. But what I want to know is, whenever at the beginning of the season you were tasked to, go along with him and stuff, did this season fulfill your expectations? Did they align with your expectations? Were you like way off? Were you almost perfect with that? Like, I want to know, like, were your expectations heading into the season completely different in comparison to what you have in mind and what you've experienced like towards now?
Um, I had a shift about halfway through the season with my expectations. So when we do these F1 seasons, you never really know what you're getting into because guys practice, guys progress, guys level up in their skill. So every time a season starts, you kind of have to feel it out to see where you fall. Um, but this season, going into the season, I I I wasn't expecting too much. I knew there was some fast rookies that were joining us. I knew Corbin was going to be in the season. Uh, I knew Daniel was going to be fast. I knew Dimitrov was going to be fast. So honestly, slotting in personally like fourth or fifth is where I thought I was going to be mid-season. And as far as constructors are concerned, I really had no idea. I knew Ty is talented, but he was also making the jump from NASCAR for the first time to F1. So I honestly didn't know where he was going to fall. Um, I know Alpha Flow was going to be probably the juggernaut team to beat. Um, and I must say that was probably the most fun experience going up against them all season, going back and forth, trying to race them out. But as soon as the midseason came along, Ty and I sat back and we just looked at where we were, and we were just kind of talking and um, talking online, and back and forth, and we just kind of paused and we just took a second and we said to each other, I think we could do this. I think we can have a shot at this. I think we can take these guys on. And we grinded and grinded, and lo and behold, it worked out.
Yes, I'm liking that you two were able to have good communications with each other, and you're able to get the job done, obviously, with some very good confidence, and in ways you basically mentioned that you pretty much have exceeded expectations based on what you were thinking heading into the season there as well, and you made some very good points there early on about how drivers progress and such over the seasons with how the Canadian E-Motorsport Network itself has progressed with how many drivers have rolled through and stuff. And you were able to get the job done against a very packed roster, especially what we saw there in NASCAR earlier in the year as well. So you definitely exceeded expectations along with Ty Higginbottom as well there for yourself, the drivers championship, and then the team getting the constructors championships. So yeah, I'll send it right back to you, Jordy. Got any thoughts to extend on what he said, I said?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a pretty, insightful, viewpoint on that, as I would expect nothing less from Darcy. God knows we've talked enough over the last couple of years that I've definitely learned your perspectives on these kinds of things. But yeah, definitely, like, you talked about how things kind of changed around the midway point. The spot that I'm kind of looking at was the night of the double feature, where we were coming off of that 1 week reset effectively at the end of October, early November. And that night, if I recall, it was a 1-2-2-3 for you guys. And that seems like where everything sort of changed from the perspective, certainly of the constructors side of things. And I know you kind of talked about this already before, but seeing those results and realizing that, hey, we've got a chance at this, and then ultimately, putting down the results, how did that sort of set the tone for kind of the final four races of the season?
Yeah. So going into that double, it was at that point that Ty and I looked at it and said, if we can put a couple of good races together, we might have a shot at this. Because it was at that point that I believe Alpha Flow was still ahead of us going into the double. So we had been keeping an eye on Dan and Michael leading up to the double, and we'd go into a qualifying session, we'd see them qualify second and third, and we'd go out on the track and try and beat them. And the same in the race, we'd keep an eye on them and try and get and stay close to them on the track to just manage the points. And going into the double, we both said to each other, like, we need to do something. We need to go in the attack. We need to take the fight to them, or they're just going to walk away with this. And Dan and Mike, they're no slouches. They are really good at this. They are really good drivers. So going into Austria, we said, we need to give it everything we got, and that's exactly what we did. And we put together 2 really good races. We got a win at one of them and finished second and third at the next one, I believe. And that's what catapulted us into having a shot at taking everything. It was after that double that we thought, we can catch them, we can pass them, we can hold on to this, we can get this. And it was at that particular time that I could see the light at the end of the tunnel for the actual drivers' championship. I thought I could get it. So that double really changed the whole dynamic of the season for us and myself.
Yeah, and I mean, it was a drivers' championship that you held from Silverstone onward. So, it's something that you were able to kind of build on that entire second half of the season. But again, ultimately, it just came down to 6 points and the difference between yourself and Corbin at the end of the day here. So knowing that you've got, championships in 3 different disciplines now within the Canadian E-Motorsports network, obviously, it takes, a variance of skills to be successful when you move from game to game or, rule set to rule set. So how satisfying is this third one?
It's pretty satisfying. So this season, this series, the F1 series, not the All-Star, but this series that we just ran, you always really want to win this one because it's a heads-up fight. Everyone's in the same car, everyone's in the same equipment, everyone has the same potential for speed to get out of the car. So when you win this one, you win big. You fight the best. So it feels incredible, and it just feels really good to beat some of these guys, because some of these guys are extremely tough to race against, because their competition is so high. You have to be on your A game every single lap. You don't have the ability to be off at all at any point. So it feels really good.
Yeah, I bet here as I'm just trying to, I do have to confirm that one thing here. So obviously, you pick up the 1 championship tonight. You're now just 2 weeks away from starting the fight to defend another one. Now going from the AlphaTauri to the Williams for the F1 All-Star Series, the following season, I can't remember if it's season 2 or season 3. I think it's season 2. That'll start in, again, a couple of weeks' time. And obviously, different challenges with the Williams machinery, shall we say. And then, obviously a little bit of a different field as well as we
Yeah, like it's different. Like I was explaining to Regan about this particular season that we just finished, the All-Star is you kind of have to see where you fall when it starts, because so many of us are in cars that may not particularly suit our driving style. So you have to get behind these cars. You have to practice with them. Some of these cars are slower than others, so you have to make up that speed somewhere. So it gives some drivers a really good opportunity to shine, and some drivers will find a challenge in the equipment that they have. So personally, I'm in the Williams, and it's going to be a challenge. no doubt. But I love a good challenge. I love a good fight. So I'm gonna take this car and see how far up the grid I can put it. Um, it'd be lovely to get a win in that blue Williams car. I just it's gonna be so much fun.
Yeah, it's almost been too long since we've set a win for the Williams. Of course, we saw, the first season we saw Jared Ireland try that template with the Haas, and he was competitive basically all the way through as well. So obviously the blueprint is there for it. Just a matter of seeing what the performance winds up like. And again, you guys do get the Christmas break here now before it all gets going again in early January. So yeah, just kind of final thoughts from you, Darcy, on again everything that's has transpired through this Formula One season, and yeah, maybe what you're maybe reiterating just kind of what you're most looking forward to in the name of the upcoming All-Star series.
Yeah, looking forward to the All-Star series. I just want to say, before I say anything else, I just want to say thank you to you guys doing all this in the booth, doing it every week, doing the broadcast. It's amazing to have that feature with us, and you guys do an amazing job. I want to say thanks to Ty for being the best teammate this season, and helping Atlantic get the Constructors Championship. Did a hell of a job. I just want to thank all the competitors that were on the track this season. Everyone did an amazing job and put down fast laps and really raised the bar as far as the competitive nature for the network and for this series specifically. So I just want to thank everybody. Like, it's been an amazing time. This season was great. And the F1 All-Star series is honestly, I really think it's going to be even better. I think it's going to be more competitive. It's going to be it's going to be faster. It's just going to be amazing, and you won't want to miss it.
Yeah, very well said. And again, this is championship number 3 for you. So I think your headshot's going to be on the face of pretty well all sides of that trophy now at some point. And, it's been well earned each time. So on that note, we'll let you roll off. Of course, you got the Wii one still to tend to as well. And yeah, all the best going forward. Enjoy the holiday season.
Lovely. Thank you guys so much.
No
All
problem.
right, Rig, we'll just kind of get a final thought here as we just bring it back to the loop. No need to throw the camera back on again. So yeah, just, again, we've seen as a bit of a misnomer, again, given some of the technical issues that we've had, but, we've observed, I guess, a pretty high quality standard of racing, as Darcy alluded to, over the course of the last few months or so. And yeah, just would love to get sort of a final summation from your side on, just what you kind of observed.
I mean, I already pretty much said it all earlier, but I'll say it again. Like, we saw a lot of competitiveness from both NASCAR and Formula One. I mean, with NASCAR, especially with the playoff format, we got many, many battles. We got many surprises. We got many moments of surprises and all that. And we had to get, and then also with Formula One, too, we had like 5 drivers, arguably 6 competing here for the championship. And obviously, Darcy Ford was able to come out on top. But yeah, again, just a lot of diversity, a lot of competition, and we had to deal with all of that through many different technical difficulties and such. But what matters the most is that we were able to persevere through all of it the best we could, and we were able to get the job done. We were able to get some sort of a product out to the audience, and even some of the drivers that wanted to have it something like this on the side, like on another monitor or whatever, something like that. So again, we were able to get through this as much as we could. We were able to get some sort of product out every week. I think there was only 1 or 2 races between NASCAR and F1 all like combined that we weren't able to get out, which, I mean, if it's only 1, like, that's pretty outstanding for us to have done. We were able to get everything else out despite maybe 1 little thing that might have screwed us over just a little bit. But again, we got the job done. And the best I can say right now is, again, for 2022, again, congratulations all the way back a few months back for Ty Higginbottom winning the Season 3 NASCAR Championship, and just now Darcy Ford coming out on top with the Season 3 Formula One Championship. So, yeah, again, the two drivers coming together at Atlantic Motorsports, go figure, to end off the year, ending off together in Formula One. So, both drivers coming out with lots of success here in 2022 in the Canadian E-Motorsports Network. So, again, congratulations tonight to Darcy Ford. Just had a great interview with him. It's an honor to have him here in the network. He's been a guy that's been here since day one, and we've been very happy to have him. He's been involved with everything from decisions to improving the network to just keeping communications well, and just even providing some very good races when he's on the track. And we have to observe him, analyze him, witness him be quite the competitive driver, very respectful driver, and we can see how talented he is. And it's no wonder that we were able to witness that tonight and him getting the Formula One championship. So, once again, congratulations to him, and then back to Ty Higginbottom. And then, yeah, Jordy, we were able to get this done over the year. Again, that's what matters.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of success doing it, and we learned a lot. And yeah, relationships got better and better. We're building all that. And
yeah, you're absolutely right. We made it through. And again, it wouldn't be possible without the support of all those who've helped us along the way as we look to sign off here for the final time in 2022. Again, I think I mentioned it earlier, but the All-Star Series, will not be streamed, although we will have that social media content up regularly the way we have been over the course of every other series. That standard won't change. Again, it will just not be broadcast this time around. So again, as we sign off, we're not entirely sure when we'll be back on the YouTube airwaves. I'm sure we'll be back at some point in the in the future, kind of after this series wraps up. But yeah, for now, we sign off. So for everyone involved in the Canadian Motorsports Network, obviously, all of our drivers, we're thankful to all of them. You mentioned it earlier, but the competition committee folks, the aforementioned Darcy Ford, Jason Butler, and Andy Hurdle. And of course, series founder Dan Cudmore, color commentator Regan McCauley. This is Jordy Carraher signing off. And again, congratulations one more time to Darcy Ford, and the happiest of holidays to all as we get to enjoy this particular time of year, and we will see you somewhere down the road.